Hello learners, I'm Parikshit and welcome to another very exciting session on Unacademy CAT-alyst. In today's session, we are going to talk about how to prepare for the Gdpr interviews and yes, how to build your profile and how to prepare your resume. Remember, interview preparation is something that you got to start sooner than later. A lot of things are there for the interview, and your job is only half done if you happen to crack the written examination. Remember, every B school has an interview, and you got to do well in the interview to get your final selection done. So you're just before the final hurdle, you just got to push yourself and go past this final hurdle. Today's session are going to be a lot of tips, tricks, and what you need to do and how you should start preparing for your interviews. Let's get started. So this is me, Parikshit Saikia, your educator on Unacademy with amongst the highest live class rating thanks to my learners. New batches are starting on Unacademy in the next few days. The 18th, the 22nd of December, we have batches starting for CAT and other OMATs. Now, if you are a CAT 2022 aspirant or if you are writing any of these OMATs, remember you got to subscribe to the Unacademy Plus plan. And if you subscribe to the Unacademy Plus plan, and if you need discounts while subscribing, remember to use the code which is there on your screen, Parikshit Live. This code will give you maximum discounts and also will help you get free mentorship from my side. Yeah, you heard it correct. Free mentorship till your CAT examination. Let's get started with today's session. Okay, how to prepare for the interviews, right? A very important question. A lot of students often have calls from almost all B schools, but then they fail to crack the interview. So, interview preparation and resume building. Interview preparation and resume building. That's gonna be our focus. That's gonna be our focus of this particular session. Resume preparation. Fine. Interview preparation and resume preparation. Fine. Now, today, as we stand, most of you, I classified you into two big buckets. Two big buckets, okay? You have either no work experience or you have some work experience. No work experience, or probably you have some work experience. Some work experience. Now, for people with greater than 2 years of work experience, okay, a lot of questions for you in the B school interviews will be focused and will revolve around your work experience. For people with less than 2 years of work experience, a lot of the questions will be focused on your academics. So when I say academics, it would be basically the subjects which you have learned in your graduation. Now, anyway, for both categories, the common topics that you need to prepare, right, is first thing first, you got to prepare a resume format. You got to prepare a resume format. Now, remember, in the resume, okay, there are many sample resumes which are available in Google. There are a lot of things. The format of the resume is definitely important. I'm saying format is important. But what is most important is what do you put in the resume? What are you going to write in the resume? I think that is the most important part. A generic format, which I would say most students you would use, okay, and even you might use, is first is let's start, okay, the resume format. First is your objective and career goals. Objective and career goals. So I would say objective. So probably you would want to be a successful entrepreneur in the plastic industry, okay, and something like that. I mean, you want to see yourself as a domain expert in the banking and financial services sector 5 years down the line. So something which specifies what you want to achieve, okay, 5 7 years down the line, and the skills that you possess currently, because of which you believe you will become an enabler in that particular specific section. So first should be objective. Second would be personal details. Second would be next you can have the personal details. The personal details. You know what? The personal details section would have your name, would have your hometown, your probably your name, hometown, your year of birth, right? Okay, and where are you located from? Your state, basically. Your state, basically. I will tell you the type of questions that can be come, that can be asked in each of these sections. But first, let's talk about the details. Moment you are done with the personal details, you can talk about your academics. You can talk about your academics, right? I'm talking about the resume format. Academics, okay? Academics, okay? Now, in your academics, you should generally follow the order most recent first. Most recent first. Now, generally, an interview panel is not very impressed if you tell them you have 98% in your class 10 boards, but in your graduation, you only have 60% marks. No, they would not be very impressed. What they would be very impressed is your recent performance. Okay, so recent performance, nevertheless, got to be put first. So you can put it in a tabular format. You can put it in a tabular format, something like this. Okay, year, okay, then stream year, you can put your year, then you can put the class, you can put your I would say graduation, you can put the year, okay, first. So what is the format? I mean, you prepare a table like this, right? So you first prepare the year, then you can prepare your boards, okay, then you can indicate whether it is 10, 12, masters, a graduation or post graduation, whatever it is. Then you can talk about the specialization, and then you can talk about the percentage marks. Percentage would generally mean all subjects. It does not mean only the best four or the best five. Always the percentage would mean all subjects. Remember, you generally put up till two places of decimal. You do not round it off. If it is 58%, do not round it off and say 60%. Okay. If it is 59.1%, do not round it off and say 60%. Why am I saying? Because whatever you put on your resume, especially your marks, these will all be verified at the time of admission. Should you get admitted, let's say in IIM Ahmedabad, based on what is written in your resume, okay, based on what is written in your resume, you claim that you have scored 89%, while it is actually 87% because you have considered only the top four subjects, right? Your admission can be annulled, right? So don't put anything which is false. Be very careful in your calculations and put only the correct thing in your resume. So academics will come next. Academics will come next, okay? Moment your academics is done, you can talk about any internships. Next thing you can talk about is your internships. Next is internships. Any internships that you might have done. Any internships that you might have done. Okay. Any internships that you might have done, or probably if you have not done any internships, it could be your final year project. Final year project. Final year project. Okay. Final year project. Now this is important. Fine. What's the internship at the final year? You just write a brief of what you did. Brief of what you did, not a brief of the company. Don't write a brief about the company. Brief of what you did. Probably I helped develop an electric vehicle. I'm a mechanical engineer. I helped develop a electric vehicle based on the principle of this. Mention the principle. And once you do that, the next thing you can write is it was funded with how many thousands of rupees or probably lakhs of rupees. It was founded with sponsorship from the Indian Institute of Science, okay, and it received the best automotive car electric category award in the fest so and so. So probably 2-3 line highlights. Keep it there. Keep it there. Don't just go on elongating, right? Just write 2-3 lines. Stop. And if the interview panel finds it interesting, they find that this is curious enough to know. You know what? Your 1-2 line can make it very curious, and someone might start asking about it. And moment they start asking, you can get into the details in the interview, right? After that, you can talk about your work experience, if any. Work experience, if any. Even if it is a family business, it could be a family business. Even if it is a family business, you mention about it. When talking about your work experience, do not get into technical stuffs. For you, something like a KT session, provide KT. I mean, for you, especially if you're an IT, could be a common terminology. But for someone who is not in the IT industry, KT could be just another word which no one has any clue. So do not use any acronyms, okay? Do not get into the technical details. Rather, focus on the big picture. What was your individual contribution and what did it help achieve? Probably, you know what? You have worked on a project and that project helped cost savings to the tune of $1 million for the year. $1 million for the year. Okay. So basically, just write the big picture details. Don't get into the minute technical stuff of your work experience. No one will be interested. What was the project all about and what did it achieve and what was your individual contribution? You can, even if you want, you can put it in bullet points. Next, once the work experience is done, right? You can talk about your hobbies and interests. Your hobbies and interest. Hobbies and interest. Now, there's a difference between both of these. There is a difference between both of these two words, okay? What is a hobby? I love watching cricket is an interest. I love watching cricket. Interest. You love seeing something. I play cricket is a hobby. Correct? I love eating food. Never a hobby. I see people giving such answers. I love eating food. Can that be a hobby? No. Right? I love cooking. Can that be a hobby? Absolutely yes. So remember, hobby is something that you actually indulge in. You play football would be a hobby. You watch football would be an interest. So be very careful about hobbies and interests. And when you talk about hobbies and interests, okay, be very sure that the interview panel, we're going to ask a lot of questions on this. Now, questions, I will come back. I will come back. Now, I think this should be sufficient. This should be sufficient for a resume. Generally, it is suggested that the resume should not be more than 1 or 2 pages. Most of you have a wrong notion. What is the wrong notion? That the lengthier the resume it is, the better it is. Trust me, it is not. In today's world where everyone is so busy, with minimum lines, you must be able to convey maximum information. So 1 page, best, if not 1 page, it can be at most 2 pages. But anything more than 2 pages will only show that you are not able to put your resume in a concise manner, in a manner which someone would consider it best. You do not want the interview panel who has gone through multiple CVs, thousands and thousands of CVs during the day to read extra lines or irrelevant information. So not more than 1 or 2 pages. Okay. Having known that, after hobbies and interests, one more thing you can definitely add is achievements, which can be academic or co-curricular, which can be academic or extracurricular. Example, you secured the first prize in the physics olympiad in your class 12 would be an academic achievement. Or probably you were the captain of the basketball team that won the inter-district football tournament that was held during your final year of graduation. Could be an extracurricular achievement. Correct? So these are the things that you are going to actually put in the resume. Having known that, the next thing that I'm going to ask is questions, sample questions from each of the sections. Sample questions. Okay. Now remember, preparing the resume should take a lot of time, especially if you're doing it properly. You should never put something which is incorrect, which is false in the resume, because trust me, every question that the interview panel will ask you, okay, during your interview, IIM interview or any B school interview, would be based on the resume. Okay. So if you, and remember, those panelists are 20, 30 years of experience. So if you write something which is not true, they're going to straight away eliminate you. Okay. Having known that, let's look at the sample questions that they might want to ask from each of the sections. Okay. Let's talk about the personal details. I'll come back to the objective section. Personal details. In the personal details section, what can they ask? Example questions, okay? They might ask meaning of your name. Meaning, and remember, these are not one-word answers. Meaning of your name. So if I were to tell, my name is, let's say, Parikshit, I got to tell him what is the meaning of my name, okay? And probably some qualities let's say Parikshit could be, let's say, emperor in, let's say, the Mahabharata or the Ramayana. Okay, just an example. You know what? Next, I would tell you, you know what? The emperor had these many qualities, and I believe that I too have these qualities, and hence, I think my parents has done a great job providing a name wherein, because I believe my qualities. Think about the positives in your strengths. You can might want to connect your strengths with the meaning of your name. Okay, first thing. Second would be other famous personalities sharing the same name as you. Other famous personalities, okay, sharing the same name as you. Sharing the same name as you. Correct? Next would be year of birth. Year of birth. As an example, if someone was born, let's say in the year 1996, the question they might ask you is, what is that thing that happened in 1996 that redefined Indian history? What do you think was the most significant historical event during your year of birth? It could be probably the Pokhran nuclear test. Someone was born in 1999. They might just be asked about the Kargil war, right? So you got to know events which happened 1 2 years before you were born and after you were born. Some significance event. If someone is quite big, probably you are already in your 30s. You know what? You might have been born in 1992. The interview panel might start asking you about how the Indian economy opened up, how Manmohan Singh during that time presented the budget. They might just start asking you, right? So be very careful and make sure that you study events which happened during your year of birth and 1 or 2 years prior and after your year of birth. That is very, very, very important. So these are some of the sample questions that you will prepare after you are done with your resume. Correct? Okay. Next, having now known about your personal details, now let's look at your academics. Now, I think this is easy to answer. Academics is something that all of you know about, right? Let's say, especially if you are a fresher, you do not have any work experience, you are probably studied things just a few days back. But remember, here in academics, one first thing that they will ask you is, which is your favorite subject? Which is your favorite subject? Which is your favorite? Which is your favorite subject? Okay. As an example, if you have studied mechanical engineering, okay, you can't tell them quality control is my favorite subject. When they talk about favorite subjects, you got to tell them a core subject. As an example, if you're a mechanical engineer, you can tell them IC engines are my favorite subject, or probably thermodynamics is my favorite subject. But it got to be a core subject. You can't tell them a non-core subject as your favorite subject, because in that case, you are actually opening a Pandora's box. They might start asking you from anywhere. If they ask you which is your favorite subject, just give them one subject. If you tell them thermodynamics and strength of material are my favorite subjects, you just broaden the area from where they might start asking you questions. So narrow down. If you feel that IC engines, and within IC engines, you know what? You have done a specific 2 3 chapters. You can tell them this is my favorite subject, and you know what? In particular, these 5 areas interest me the most. Why? What have you done? If you have set a boundary, chances are that the interview panel will ask you questions within the boundary that you have set for. If you don't set a boundary, the entire area is open, the world is open for people to ask questions, and they might start asking and shooting questions from anywhere they want. Correct? So be very careful. Study one subject thoroughly. And when I say thoroughly, let's say you say thermodynamics is your favorite subject. It is not sufficient if you just state the law of thermodynamics. Let's say zeroth law of thermodynamics. You got to give them practical examples. If your favorite subject is, let's say accounting, they might give you some practical examples. They might give you some practical examples, or they might ask you, given an accounting sheet, how do you move from an income statement to a balance sheet? What is the difference between an income statement and a balance sheet? Or probably from an income statement, what are the details or what are the fine tunings or adjustments that you need to do if you were to get into the probably a cash flow statement, right? So be very careful. Practical knowledge, okay, and practical examples. If you can define a concept, any model, okay, along with a practical example. That is the ideal way of answering rather than focusing on derivations, maths, or any completely complete theory. So even if we are asking laws, state the law and give a related to a practical example or something which is there in your daily life. That's the best way of answering, because that would show you have managerial skills. You have skills to know to apply what you learn in your classroom and colleges in your real day-to-day life activities. Correct? That is about academics. Next is about internships. Next is about internships and final year project. Now, a lot of you, especially people with no work experience, this is one area that you got to focus on. Whatever is your last year of work, last year project, right? Especially if you have done some research, what was the outcome? What was the objective of the project? Objective of the project. Probably objective of the project was to generate solar power. You know what? Were you successful? What was the cost incurred? Okay. How much savings does it result? Remember when I say objective and benefits, what benefit did it give? What benefit? And how did you carry out the entire process? What were your learnings? What were your learnings? Don't get into the technicalities. I repeat, do not go into the technicalities of things. A lot of times, if the panel has knowledge about the technicalities or is interested to know about the technicalities, she will himself ask you the details. You, on the other hand, got to focus on the big picture, objective, benefit, learnings. And was your project, if you're probably an engineer, was it actually applied in an industry? Did you go and seek sponsorship for a large scale implementation? If no, what stopped you, right? All such questions, the big picture is what matters, not the technical details or what was the size of the pulley or what was the size of the shaft. All these details are irrelevant. Okay. And obviously, when I say learning, I also mean the challenges that you face and how you overcame them, right? Also, if it is a teamwork, do mention about the teamwork. Why? Because at the end of the day, you should show yourself as a team player. In today's world where there are so many things, I think a team player is most important, is far desired than probably an individual contributor. Correct? That is about internships and final year project. That is about internships and final year project. Next, see, I'll take detailed session of all these, right? We'll have mock interviews and all. But for the moment, at least this much you can get started with. Next, work experience. Now, work experience is something that a lot of time and energy, right? Or probably a major portion of your interview will be based on your work experience, should you have one. When I say work experience, we are generally looking at work experience greater than 2 years or minimum 1.5 years. Anything less than 1.5 years is as good as a fresher. Okay. When you talk about your work experience, tell them all the good things, your achievements, and whatever you have learned. Whatever you have learned. And here it is very essential to understand you got to connect the part why MBA. Why MBA? Probably you were in TCS coding in Java, okay? And you feel that you're very happy, you do what has been asked of you. Then they will ask you, why do you need to do an MBA? Why don't you consider your current status quo, right? You're doing well. You are a developer. You are a tester. You are a computer engineer. But why an MBA? It is here that you got to connect. You got to connect the experience that you have already derived out of your work experience and probably the theoretical and practical learnings that you will get from your peers and the professors in B schools that will make you excel in your work. Ideally, generally, if you have worked in an IT industry or probably an area and what you desire to achieve, generally try to have a connection. You should not have done and probably an IT work experience, worked in TCS as a developer, and suddenly if you say, you know what, I want to go into marketing, it could be a bit difficult to justify. I'm not saying that's a wrong answer. It's just that your job becomes a bit difficult. If on the contrary, okay, you're working in the IT industry and you say that I want to get into consulting within the IT sector, you know what, you can very well connect the dots. You can say that I've already work experience on this. I know the minute details. Now what I'm learning are the bigger details. That's what I aspire to do an MBA. And remember, no one in the interview will make you sign a bond paper and say In the interview, you said you want to do sales, and 2 years later, also, or 1 year later, after the first year completes, you will have to do sales. No, nothing like that. So from an interview perspective, try to connect the dots. Try to show them that what you have worked on and what you desire to work on in the future post your MBA has some connections at least. Even if you have worked in the IT industry, you know what? But you have worked in the BFS sector, banking and financial services. And 2 years later, after an MBA, you aspire to go into the BFS sector. You probably can connect the dots easily, saying that, you know what, I have worked in the BFS domain, I have functional knowledge, I have given L0 N1 certifications, and this is something I really enjoy. I love to trade, right? So show them you have skills, and because of the skills, you need to fine tune those skills. That is why you have decided to join an MBA course in one of the most prestigious and reputed B schools of the country. Correct? Next, that is regarding your work experience. Now, within your work experience, it is good to define an area, but always be very certain, okay, what you want to achieve. Something they will very often ask is, where do you see yourself 5 years down the line, right? Very tricky question, very tricky question. We will see in our regular sessions on Unacademy how to answer these questions. But for the moment, at least prepare on your work experience, okay? At least prepare on your work experience, what you have done. And as I say, no technical jargons, only things which even a person who is not in that specific field will be able to understand. Next, hobbies and interests. Hobbies and interests. Okay. Hobbies and interests. Hobbies and interests is also something very important. You know what? As an example, I give an example, and I've seen people doing this. You know what? Your hobby is playing cricket. Your hobby is playing cricket or playing football, for that matter, playing football. You know what? If you say playing football, no one is gonna take you from the IIMs, right? But if you are able to tell what you learn while playing football, the learnings, the skills, that's where the difference comes. A person who is not well prepared is just going to say, I love playing football because of this, and that. But a person who is well prepared is going to say, I love playing football. You know what? Because it teaches me strategy. MBA is all about strategies, manager during an MBA. Correct? So remember that learnings are very important. Just not the hobby, just not the interest. If you say, you know what, and a question could be, you say you love painting. Someone might say your hobby is painting. Someone might be thinking, what questions can they ask me? They might ask you the names of three famous painters across the world, okay, and some of their famous paintings. They might ask you, what is the difference between a primary, secondary, and a tertiary color? They might ask you, how many shades of red are available? They might ask you, in a pencil, which type of pencil do you use to do the drawings? You might say HB. They might ask you, which variant of HB? If you say HB1, or you remember there are numbers written on a pencil, let's say HB1. They might ask you, what is the meaning of 1 in HB? Correct. So a lot of questions are possible, right? Lot of questions are possible depending on what you write. If you say football, they might ask you, who is your favorite footballer? If you say cricket, who is your favorite cricketer? You might say Virat Kohli. The answer will not fetch you an IIM seat. What might fetch you is you say Virat Kohli and then you give him some 2, 3 stats which is undisputable. You can't say, you know what, I feel he is a cool player. I feel he has a lot of aggression. No, you don't feel. You are giving an answer to a panelist, hoping that you secure an admission in the prestigious B schools. If you say Virat Kohli is your favorite cricketer, you got to support that with irrefutable facts. You can tell him, you know what, I've done an analysis, and under Kohli, India has won these many tests abroad and these many tests at home compared to the last three captains. Now, what I just said is data, which is irrefutable. But if you say that, I think Virat Kohli is aggressive, probably will bring in a lot of cross questions. What is important is give irrefutable data. Next is achievements. Now remember, as I said sometime before, achievements could be both academic achievements and extracurricular achievements. Okay. Now, if you are writing about your achievements, probably you are writing about an achievement, something like published paper at the district level, published paper or won first prize, published paper on so and so at district level or at state level, something like this. But you know what? This was done in your third year of graduation, and today, with 2 years of work experience, I've completely forgotten about this. Don't write it. Better not to write it. If you write something here, they are going to verify. They are going to check whether you have actually done it, right? So you definitely cannot forget whatever you have written. So published paper on won the gold medal in maths in my class 10, 12 boards because I scored 100 out of 100, right? So such things got to be written in your achievements, and as I mentioned, can be both co-curricular as well as academics. If you don't have anything to write, can I write participated in? The word participated does not sound very good. You can just fine tune it. You can say that strategize and led a team of 3 members to represent college in an inter-district tournament on kabaddi, something like that, just in case you have not won a prize. Fine, if you do not want a prize, but at least write something because it shows that you were involved in extracurricular and co-curricular activities apart from your studies. Remember, IIMs will always like multitasking managers. So you got to give them different points on which they can score you, Okay, score you in the sense provide you higher points, brownie points. Another thing which is very important is often they will ask you regarding your strengths and weakness. Strengths and weakness. And weakness. Now remember, the strengths and weakness will vary from person to person. Will vary from person to person. My strength and your strength will not be the same. But remember, you got to find out 2 strengths. One strength could be, as an example, could be, let's say, someone says, my communication skills are very good. If you're saying your communication skills are very good, but then if you're actually not very good in English, it will come out in the interview, right? So don't say something which you're not sure about. If you say you are a good listener, okay, before you make that statement, yourself, were you a good listener during the interview? If yes, go ahead and say you are a good listener. But if no, you might be a very good listener, but on the day of the interview, you actually did not let the examiner finish his questions in a lot of place. That might show you are not a good listener. And now if you say you are a good listener, that might actually bring in negative points. So give them strengths which are evident, okay? You say you are a cool minded, you can handle pressure. They might just start asking you a lot of random questions just to put you under pressure and check how you react, because you have just told them 5 minutes before you are a cool-headed thinker and you don't generally get affected under stress, right? Similarly, weaknesses. Now remember, weakness is something, okay? No one is going to select you for your weakness. You can't tell them, I wake up late in the mornings. No, that's a very bad thing to tell. Your weakness should be such that it does not affect your selection process. As an example, you might say, sometimes I get too focused on the minute details because of which I tend to lose sight of the big picture. Fine, is a weakness. Moment you mention a weakness, mention what you are doing to overcome that weakness. That is also very important. It is not sufficient to just mention a weakness. When you mention a weakness, also tell them what you are doing to overcome that weakness, because that is what is most important, rather than telling them a weakness and then believing on the fact that a person is going to select you, the panel is going to select you because of your weakness. That's never going to happen. Correct? Very, very, very important. Now, at this stage, today as we speak, we are in the last week of December. We are in the last week of December, and another 2, 3 weeks, interviews will start. Can you do something in 3 weeks' time? Can you learn some skill in 3 weeks' time? 3 weeks left for 2, 3 weeks left for your interviews to start, right? Can you go on and build your profile in these 2, 3 weeks, especially for students who do not have too many things to write? Yes, you can. What you can do is you can just go to in the internet, right? Go to the internet and find some courses. It could be Excel courses. It could be Excel stuff, right? Excel courses, okay? Could be an Excel courses, could be some data analytics courses. So you try to figure out 2, 3 courses which you believe can be done over a period of 5, 10 days, and at least you can put on the resume saying that you have done a course on so and so topic. If you don't get a certification, doesn't matter. At least you can write that you know VBA in Excel. Moment you write that, they are gonna ask questions from there. And the good thing is, because you have just learned, it'll be fresh in your mind. Do not do a course just for the sake of doing. Remember, if you write something, if you say that you know Tableau, let's say Tableau is a tool, a data analytics tool, you know Tableau, okay? They will start asking you questions on Tableau. If you don't know and if you're lying, you're just straight away eliminated. So write something only when you are sure that you can justify and you can answer in the interview, right? Even a certification will not fetch you any brownie points if you are not able to answer the questions regarding that certification. Like what? Like let's say you said you did a certification, or let's say R, okay, on the language R, but now they start asking you a few R questions you're not able to answer, no brownie points. So be very, very clear on what you need, okay? And with 3 weeks left, also please analyze analysis of news items. Analysis, I'm not saying reading, that anyway you have to do. Analysis of news items. Today, if someone talks about the farm bill, okay, and the repealing of the farm bill, what were the discussions? What are the pros and cons of the farm bill? Can you tell me something which probably 10 more people are not able to tell? You can't give me a generic answer. Farm bill was this and that. Everyone knows. But if you're preparing for an interview, come out with some pointers which probably not too many people will have. And if you're able to mention about those points, you know what? It would show you have really done your homework well. So do analysis of news items. Very, very, very important. Yesterday, one of our top former army generals was killed in an helicopter crash. They might just ask you, what can you do to make the Indian military equipments like the helicopters more safer, right? Could be just about that. Could be about the Rafale. Could be about the demilitarization exercise, right? The redrawing of boundaries in the political in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, right? So could be just anything, but it could be an analysis of news items. And when I say analysis, I always mean both good and bad. You are never going to give them a one-sided view, especially if they talk about politics. They might ask you, who is your favorite political leader? You can tell them that this person is my favorite political leader. I like these 3 points about him, but you know what? I still believe he can improve on point A and point B. That would show that you are neutral. That would show that you have managerial skills, because a manager needs to analyze both sides of the coin. So very, very, very important. Never be biased. You might be liking one politician, but in an interview, you definitely got to give a balanced opinion of whatever is being asked about you, especially about controversial topics. Like, let's say, it could be your view on the Ayodhya project, right? So you might tell them 4 things, really wonderful, appreciative, but 2 things which could have been better, or probably which you think is not correct. Is not correct. So all these things are very important. Article 370. Do you know the details of Article 370? Do you know the history behind why Jammu and Kashmir has a separate constitution, right? What was the history behind it? How was it repealed? And today, compared to the year back when where Jammu was and today where it is, do you think the lives of the citizens there have improved? There must be a lot of data points. So make your answers, when you give an answer on the basis of data points, answer on the basis of statistics. The more you are able to do that, you know what? The better it would become. The clearer it would become to the panel that you have prepared well for the interview. Correct? Okay. I think that is it. That is it for today. Remember, the plus close courses are there for those of you who are interested. And if you need discounts anytime, remember to use my code Parikshit Live for discounts and free mentorship. And iconic subscription is also available for those of you who are interested. Lot of benefits of the iconic subscription. Remember to use my code Parikshit Live. An exciting offer, 2 months free for 12 or 24 months subscription. Offer is ending on the 22nd of December. And remember, apart from 2 months free, you would also get discounts using my code Parikshit Live. And a comprehensive ZAD evaluation is also available. And yes, the Unacademy Combat ZAD decision making special. Do enroll. Remember to use my code Parikshit Live to enroll and get access to the series absolutely free. And ask a doubt on Unacademy is always there. Anytime you have doubts, just log into the Unacademy app and send across your query to us. Experts from Unacademy is going to answer your query. That is it for today. I hope you enjoyed the session, and I'm going to see you in my next session. Till then, goodbye and stay